wonderful day. Today's video is my reading wrap up for May. So if you've been following my channel for a little while, you must, well, I would hope you'd know that I took part in the Believathon, which was a journey to the stronghold, which was created by How to Train Your Gavin, and that was to read a selection of middle grade books. So the update for that video has already been posted, so you can head over and check that out if you want. I have my trusty May bullet journal-ish book journal, so I know what I read. I did listen to a lot of audiobooks this month, so I'm just going to go through my statistics. So I had 1 2-star book, 7 3-star books, 13 4-star books, and 4 5-star books. I read 4 contemporaries, 3 sci-fi / fantasy, 14 middle grades, 1 classic, 2 thrillers, and 1 fiction. Predominantly my author count was mainly male. So I read 14 books by male authors, 8 by females, and 3 by collaborations. And I only read 6 actual books this month, and then I read 19 audiobooks. Let me just figure out if that's quite right. 20. Yeah. Okay, that is right, I believe. I might have missed out a couple of those, but I've counted up. So now, quite a few books that I listen to audiobooks, I do actually have the physical books here. So I will show you if I have the physical book. If I don't, then yeah, I'm just going to have to tell you what I read. So the first book I read was On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I loved this book. I thought it was incredible. I really enjoyed it. I do have quite a few other books by Carrie Hope Fletcher to get through, but this one was really lovely. I did actually listen to this on audiobook and I laughed, I cried, it was just amazing. And I gave this one 5 stars, so that's the first one. The second book I read was, I was reading it with Nikki, my lovely Nikki, and it was Silence by Becca Fitzpatrick. It's part of the Hush Hush series. We are still continuing with it. We have finale to read, which is coming this month in June, so I'm excited about that. But I did really like this book. I found it a lot better than Crescendo last month, but yeah, I'm excited to see how the other one ends. I gave this one 4 stars. The next book I have, well, I don't have it because I actually donated it, was Paul Stewart and Chris Riddell's Beyond the Deep Woods. Now, I had all 3 books from that series and I struggled so hard to get through Beyond the Deep Woods, and I really just didn't like the story. It's about a boy called Twig who finds out he's not a wood troll and goes on a journey through the deep woods to escape from cloud pirates. That's not quite right. But he just met so many different animals and things along the way that it just didn't have enough of a story for me. It was just like he tumbled down a hill and met this person. Oh, he fell down a hole and he met this animal thing that tried to eat him. It just, I didn't really get it. I felt there was far too much going on, so I just decluttered those books. So they went. So yeah. Next up was Michelle Harrison. Oh, I gave Beyond the Woods 2 stars because I just didn't like it. Michelle Harrison, A Sprinkle of Sorcery was next, so that is the sequel to A Pinch of Magic. I liked it. I thought it had more of a story, like more of an adventure than the first book, but it's not one I would probably purchase or read again, so I only gave it 3 stars. Next up is Some Kind of Wonderful by Giovanna Fletcher. Now, I did really enjoy this book, but and I gave it 4 stars. Oh, all my books have fallen over. But I just can't decide if it's a keeper or a goer. So for now, it is staying, but that might change. But it had a really nice story. I did really like it. So yeah, it just didn't have... I don't know, it was a going through the motions story. I can't decide, but yeah, there was that one. Next up, I read 2 R.D. Wingfield Inspector Frost books. I read A Winter Frost and A Killing Frost. Both of them were pretty good. And I listened to the audiobooks, which were actually read by David Jason, which was really nice, as he plays Inspector Frost in the TV series. And they were pretty good. I gave them both 3 stars. But once you kind of know a thriller story, you don't tend to read them again. So yeah, that's kind of where I got for that. Next up, I read with the lovely Nikki, the first book in the Magisterium series, The Iron Trial. I frigging loved it. The suspense was insane. I just couldn't wait to get to the end of it. Like, oh, it was so exciting. I gave this 5 stars, and yeah, I just couldn't wait to get onto the second one. So yeah, there's that. I then read The Worst Witch, which has been a loved book since I was little. Poor old Mildred. But yeah, this was really good. I did only give it 3 stars because it was just quite simple, but it's definitely a middle grade book. So yeah, but it holds a special place. Next up, I read The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. It's actually behind me on the shelf here. I forgot to get it out, sorry. But it completely changed my outlook on the Narnia books. And I really recommend like reading it if you've watched the films, or if you've read just The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Go back and read The Magician's Nephew. It sets the whole scene for the Narnia series. It really does. So I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Mackenzie Lee's Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue on audiobook. I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty good. It's a gay romance, or boy-boy romance, if, you know, disclaimer, if you don't like the word gay. I thought it was really good, actually. I liked the fact that neither of them knew that the other one liked them until later on. That was really nice. And I liked the fact it was sort of set back in the day. So, you know, when male-male romance just wasn't a thing. So that was quite nice, and sort of hearing how they overcame that. So yeah, it was a really good read. I really enjoyed it. It did make me laugh. There were lots of funny parts in it, so I really recommend it. Next up, I read Bram Stoker's Dracula. I really enjoyed it, actually. I didn't know the original story of Dracula before, and my lovely friend Nikki, she absolutely loves Dracula, and when I think she was doing it as a readathon, or she'd already read it, and she talked about it in a couple of videos, and I was like, right, you know what, I'm going to listen to it, and I loved it so much, I actually bought the book. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I do want to pick up the actual book again at a later date, and really kind of immerse myself in that world, because there were a couple of bits I think I missed, and then when I chatted about it with Nikki, it was like, oh, of course. So yeah, it'd be quite nice to read that again. Now next up, I have quite a few Roald Dahl books. Let me just pick them out. So there's this one, George's Marvellous Medicine, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Boy, Going Solo, and The Twits. So I listened to all of my Roald Dahl books this month on audiobook. I know I have the physical books, and it's probably like, well, if you've got the book, why are you listening to the audiobook? But I find I consume audiobooks a lot faster than I do actual physical books. And at the moment, my plan is to get through as many books on my shelves as possible so that I can declutter the ones that I really don't like, and then I can have a shelf full of books that I really love. Now I know I love the Roald Dahl stories, so it didn't really bother me in which way I consumed them. There were a few I read as a child, so The Twits and George's Marvellous Medicine, which I really enjoyed. I gave George's Marvellous Medicine 3 stars and The Twits 4 stars. Fantastic Mr. Fox was good. But I don't know, I just was expecting a little bit more from it, so I only gave it 3 stars. And then these two, which I had never read before, Boy and Going Solo, were actually snippets of Roald Dahl's life. And I really, really enjoyed these. I gave both of these 4 stars. And I hazard to say they might actually be my favourite Roald Dahl books. I really, really enjoyed them. So yeah, I recommend checking those 2 out if you haven't. Next up is another Cecilia Ahern. It is Thanks for the Memories. I gave this one 4 stars. It was a good story and I did enjoy it. I listened to it by audiobook. Isn't she so pretty? Look at that. But yeah, I did really enjoy it. It probably won't stay in my collection because it was just one that I enjoyed, but I didn't fall in love with enough to want to read again. But I did enjoy it. It was a good story. Next up is James and the Giant Peach. So these are a bit mismatched, but I am giving you them in the order I read them. Now, James and the Giant Peach got 4 stars. I love the James and the Giant Peach story. I watched the film millions of times as a child. Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker. Oh, you love to hate them, don't you? But yeah, cracking story. Really, really good. Then we finally got to the Copper Gauntlet. So again, this was a buddy read with Nikki. And I really, really liked it. I did find it a little bit slow. And I have to say, where is what he calls himself? Because it drove me nuts. Evil Overlord. I don't know how many times he said, you know, wouldn't Evil Overlord do this? Would it do that? And oh, it really grated on me that I wanted someone to just find out. But I really liked it and I gave it 5 stars again because I just thought it was fab. The writing style is great. The storyline is great. So it's just fabulous. Loved it! Next up is another one I don't have. It's by Kieran Millward Hargrave and it was Girl of Ink and Stars. It was okay. I was expecting a little bit more from it. But I did like it. I enjoyed the ending and I do recommend giving it a read. I only gave it 3 stars purely because it just wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit more from it. But yeah, it was okay. It was worth a read. It's just not one I loved. But yeah. Now next up is another 5-star one. And it was A Year at the Star and Sixpence by Holly Hepburn. This is about 2 sisters that run a pub in the Cotswold countryside, I believe. Is it Cotswold? It doesn't say. I feel like it's Cotswold. Maybe it's not. It was fabulous. Friggin' loved it. Couldn't put it down. Wanted to find out what was happening with each sister and just, oh, I loved it. I gave it 5 stars and I actually bought the sequel. But yeah, I'm really excited. I do have a haul video coming soon. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that one. It was amazing. Seriously, read it. So there's that one. Next up, and I received this from the lovely Nikki. She is incredible. I love her so much, not just because she bought me this, but because she is frigging incredible. She's just the nicest person. She's my bestie. But yeah, she bought me The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is the prequel to the Hunger Games series. So this follows Coriolanus Snow and how he sort of becomes the guy we see later on in the Hunger Games trilogy. Now, I gave this 4 stars. Ugh, it's kind of a controversial one for me because I would give it 4.5 if I could, but I haven't given it a 5 rating because Goodreads doesn't do that. I loved this book. I could not put it down. There was one day where I fell behind, and it really irritated me that I fell behind, but I loved it. I really, really loved it. My issue was that what happens in it isn't the way I wanted it to happen, and I think that's why I feel sad about it. I'm not going to try and give away any spoilers, but obviously we know Coriolanus becomes a bit of a tit. Because he's President Snow and no one likes him in the Hunger Games. So we know he's a bit of a tit. But I was expecting him to become a tit through things that happen to him rather than just because he's always been a tit. But I really recommend reading it. I really enjoyed it and I definitely will read it again. I love it. I wanted him to be a nice guy. And I wanted the things that happened to him to make him a tit. And it turns out he just isn't really a nice guy. I think if you go into it knowing you don't really like him and it doesn't matter, then that's fine. But I went into it with such high hopes. But the fact that his name is Coriolanus really bugged the crap out of me the whole way through the book. It's not like it really got shortened down at any point. There were a couple of references to him being called Corio. Which I would have preferred, but no. But it was a great book. I frigging loved it. And to be honest, if I had time and didn't have all of these to read, I would probably reread it again now because it was really good. So yeah, if I could give it a 4.5, I would, but I haven't quite embraced the book for what it just is yet. I still have feelings in here that I feel sad about it. Because I wanted him to be nice. Next up, I have the Brian Jakes Redwall book. My lovely friend Hannah had these. And they're about sort of rats and mice and badgers and different animals that look after the Abbey of Redwall, and then the rats try and take over. Clooney the Scourge tries to take over, and yeah, it was just great. I really, really enjoyed it. I did listen to it on audiobook, so I had lots of different voices and lots of different like accents and things for the different animals, and I really, really loved it. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. I do have a few more up here on this shelf to read at some point, but yeah, this one was great. I really enjoyed that. Next up, I have 2 more Roald Dahl ones. I have Witches, which I gave 4 stars because I loved it. I love the film. I love the entire premise of just witches. It makes me feel, yeah, I just liked it. And this one, which I did not expect to like, Danny, the Champion of the World, I frigging loved it. I gave it 4 stars again. I think had Goodreads had a 4.5, I'd have given it a 4.5. It was fabulous. I really, really, really liked this one. And recommend reading it if you've just stuck to the like well-known ones. Danny, the Champion of the World is incredible. Give it a read. Now the last book I read, which I don't have to show you, is by Kate Dicamillo, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. It's about a rabbit, a porcelain or china rabbit, and the adventure he goes on. And it was pretty good. I didn't feel either way about it. It's written by the same lady that wrote The Tale of Despero, which I actually really liked. But I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty good. It was just on Libby, and I thought, well, I've read The Tale of Despero. Let's give the story of Edward Tulane a go and see how we get on. So that is all the books I read in the month of May. So I read, let me just check me balance sheet. I read 27 books. I bought 14, but that was before I decided that I'm going on a bit of a no-buy. I've set myself up with my friend Hannah that I have to ask her if I want to buy something, and I have to tell her what it is and what I'm going to use it for, because otherwise I'm just going to spend my money on shit. Being stuck in lockdown has not done me any favours. And I've donated 5 books. There are a couple of books that I am a bit unsure about whether I will keep, and a couple that I'd already donated this month and they've gone and I can't remember what they are, so there's probably a few more on there. I would say I've donated about 7 or 8, so we'll go with that. But yeah, there are some great books this month, and I am frigging amazed that that I managed to read as many as I did. But yeah, that's everything for me. If you want to know any more about any of the books I've mentioned, then do just leave me a comment and I will try and get back to you and give you as much information as possible. But that's everything from me. I really hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up, and yeah, I will see you soon for my June wrap up. We'll see how many I can read. My goal for the year is 85. I need to total up and see where I'm up to at the minute, but I believe I'm over 50. But we shall see. Take care. See you soon. Bye.